And again, welcome to BitDev. I'm here with Sable, my girlfriend of 6 years. And she's an artist, illustrator, all-around crafty person. Hi.
Hi.
Other than what I just said, tell me a little bit more about yourself. As if I don't already know.
It's for the others to know. Where to begin? Well, basically, as you said, I'm an artist. I'm 25. I graduated last spring at the University of Central Oklahoma with a humanities major and illustration minor. What else to really say? It's not a whole lot about me, I guess.
Yeah, there is. So why illustration? Well, actually, before that, what is illustration to you?
Illustration to me is basically where you get to sketch, or if you want to do digital work of a scene. Basically, whenever I think of illustration or I hear the word illustration, I mainly go to like children's books and how each page is illustrated out like of a single shot to represent something that's going on. So like a screenshot of like a movie or something. So yeah.
But then there's also like illustration for like comic books or like graphic novels. There's, for children's books, like you said, there's also like, for example, all the Harry Potter books had covers and little drawings inside the books
for each chapter. Yeah.
And then, or like the Lemony Snicket, like, or kind of like what you want to do is like, more in like the development side of illustration. And so even though nowadays places like Disney and DreamWorks and stuff are doing more like 3D type animation, they still require like the ideas in there to get out in some way, and they have a lot of artists that illustrate like you do.
Yeah. Well, there's illustrators, and then there's obviously like the character designers, and then the animators. So I kind of feel like illustrators probably do a bit of both, perhaps, I guess.
And what do you consider yourself more of?
Well, I've never really done animation, so that definitely is not one. I do think I am more qualified as an illustrator just because I've always been drawing ever since I was little, and I don't really do graphic design. I've dabbled in it. We actually just had this conversation earlier, how I love typography and I love, being able to look at, the different logos that you always see and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool, like, that's really ingenious how they did that, but I think about myself and I think, could I have done that? Maybe, but like at the same time, I'm like, I'm nowhere near as, nourished in it, I guess, per se.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely more of a character designer more than anything. Ever since I was younger, I definitely recall always at least sketching out costumes. I think when the one moment where I definitely recall it happening, like the, I guess, turning point of it was middle school, around like 2000 or so, or like 2000, 2002, somewhere around there. It was whenever Lord of the Rings was coming out, and, the first two had already happened, and I had a friend at the time, and she was like, oh, like, I'm really big into this, and I was like, oh, what is it? So looked into it, immediately got hooked, and from that point on, I was like, I want to design a whole bunch of stuff. And so it came from, that point, I think, as well as there was an artist at the time I loved following. And so I kind of mimicked her because at the time it was like a phase I went through. So it was, that was definitely probably one of the big times. And especially now, I love designing outfits. Not necessarily for me to always wear, but I definitely love thinking of, like the Disney bound or like kind of any bound outfits that you could do, especially if you go to conventions or if you go to the parks or, just because,
Yeah.
kind of
so, even though you're still like kind of more of a character designer or illustrator, you could even also be like a fashion designer.
Yeah, I have thought about that. In fact, unfortunately, I won't be able to do it this year. Hopefully next year. I had an idea in mind for the Her Universe fashion show that they're going to have at San Diego Comic-Con. Again, unfortunately, due to financial reasons and then, of course, also scheduling during that time.
That's expensive.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to do it. Excuse me. I do, again, have the design done, but I'd had to also create it. And I know there's going to be a lot of other stuff that I'm going to be doing over the summer with you and our friends for an upcoming convention that, not going to be able to follow through with the design, but, keep your fingers crossed that, my idea can still be used for next year. So hopefully I can do it. So we'll see.
So then you like illustration. What is like sort of your dream job? What is it that you're going for?
As of right now, I would love to just, again, continue with the character development. If I could get a job at Disney, that would be great. I also would love to work for DreamWorks or Nickelodeon, any of the big studios that are in California right now. So that's definitely what I would love to do. I can sit and draw characters all day and, see the development. I've always enjoyed that ever since I was little. Like, you get the art books, which I have a few of them, and I've had a few for years. And I love just seeing the development of a character. Like, you see them from the very get-go, and you're like, whoa, that's where that character first started with. And then you see them transform into what you see now, and it's like a lot simpler, but so iconic, and I love that.
Yeah. That and like whenever you go into like the art books that they have, like you also get to see the characters sort of like evolve and take shape in like a very different way. Like kind of more recently, like looking in the Frozen book, like the ideas that they had for Elsa, like being like an actual villain.
Yeah.
And, like, she was, like, super dark and, like...
She had black hair, which is really interesting.
And so, like, seeing sort of the development in that way that, like, oh, here's, like, we're kind of trying to go in this direction. And you sort of see her, like, take shape in this way. And then they, like, turn her into a different direction. And, like, in a certain way, you can sort of see glimpses of, like, the earlier character in development, like so I think that's another like cool aspect of like when there is character design, that like as a character designer you get to sort of like make this person like come to life. Like it's more than just like, oh, here's just like an angry dude, and sometimes there are those but like there's also like, oh, this like small child is like, kind of smart but also kind of bratty, and then like you draw like all the different emotions and all that, and like to me that really intrigues me.
It always intrigues me too. That's one thing I do need to work on, is the emotions, but it's always fun learning how to do that and really like exaggerate to really make it come across really well. And I think it's always so fascinating. And then just seeing, again, like you said, like the early development into like what it later becomes.
Yeah. And I think another part of that is that like it also really becomes this giant collaboration between all the people that are working on this project. That it's not just like, oh, this is me, and then like that's it. Like this is what comes out. Like what does kind of come out nicely is that in like Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks or whatever, that they have like an art director, but then there's like all these different people like kind of making this whole like cohesive design. Do you look forward to like working on a team, or would you rather?
Yeah. I mean, I've honestly haven't really worked on a team. Even in college, like I did go through the graphic design department for a little bit until stuff just ended up not working out. That can be explained later if you want. So I didn't really get to collaborate with too many people. So I have just really been working on my own. As of right now, I have been illustrating for a children's book, and my author is in another state. So it's been kind of back and forth, like talking to him like through Facebook and stuff like that. That's honestly been the only time I've actually collaborated with anyone. It's an interesting experience, I will say. I do like working on the book, but I mean, it's interesting. It's a good learning experience.
I think something else that goes with collaboration is that you sort of get a lot more ideas that you wouldn't have gotten yourself. Like if it weren't for like this author, like you wouldn't have had this exact idea of what this character would have become.
Right.
And so you get sort of something that wouldn't have existed independently of each other.
Yeah.
So what I know that you're rather fond of Disney. Why, like, what makes you so fond of Disney? What is it about them that is so magical?
Well, I can definitely say I grew up on Disney. I'm a Disney child. My parents have always provided it for me. It was always on in the house. I mean, you know, I also did have like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. But definitely Disney was always on, especially the movies. I don't know, like, I have just always really admired what Walt had set out to do was, you know, to create something really different, to bring entertainment kind of like a new light to that kind of industry. I mean, he really set the bar whenever he first made, you know, Snow White as the first full-length animated movie. And then, of course, like, over the years, it's developed, and I still feel like, you know, the company has definitely held true to what he wanted. And I know a lot of people don't like Disney because, oh, it's sugarcoating, you know, these fairy tales, or it's, you know, sugarcoating this or whatever, you know. Like, I have heard people, you know, bash it. I get it, but, I mean, for me personally, I just love it because I have always found it charming. And if I had to choose between like a Disney movie and like, I don't know, like some adult movie, live action movie, thriller, whatever, I'm going to probably go with Disney. Just because, one, it depends on the other movie. But I definitely just prefer the fun of it. And I don't know, I guess like some people might not agree with me or think bad of me when I say this, but I like seeing that kind of sugar-coated side of things and kind of have like a happier view of things. And like, I don't know, like, I'm not saying I'm naive, but like, I don't know, it's just that kind of entertainment I just enjoy. And especially now, through the years, Disney has gotten really good about having the little tongue-in-cheek stuff, which is really fun. I mean, they've always had it. It's just, of course, as you get older, you start to realize it. But I really appreciate it.
I also think that having sort of something like, I guess, family-friendly, if you will, is that whenever it's kind of like lighthearted and sort of like a whimsical story, it never really like gets too old or too dark because that that same wonder stays throughout. Like,
there's also always something there I think anyone can relate to. Like, again, people will always bash it, but in the end, I think I have always found something with one of the movies, with, you know, the 50 plus animated movies, you know, plus all the live action, but we'll focus on the animated more. You know, there has always been something or some character that someone can relate to, and you can relate it into a way that isn't like stuff getting blown up or like, you know, someone going through this kind of tragic thing. It's like, it's subtle enough to where people can relate to it, you know? So when I mean subtle, like, let's take the first 15 minutes of Up. That probably was the most that I've ever seen them do to tell, like, literally, like, someone's life. And somewhere in this world, someone has literally gone through that, or someone knows someone who's gone through that. And you can't help but get teary-eyed. And it's like, I can relate to that. Therefore, I really feel for this character. I could say that more to, like, one of them versus, I don't know, like, a big-time celebrity playing this other character. You know, I don't want to, like, name names or anything, so that's why I'm not being as specific as I probably should, but I don't know. Like, I think there's kind of something for everyone, even though it's always going to be labeled as a children's movie or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, having characters that, like, something very different is that a character in a fiction or, like, an animated fiction is that it really makes them come to life in a very different way that, like, a real person does. It's sort of like a caricature of what a real person is. And, you know, like, both Disney and Pixar have done this a lot, but, like, you know, recently we were watching, like, The Incredibles and stuff, and even though, like, it goes for more of, like, a realistic sort of feel with, like, the superhero type thing, like, people are still sort of, like, you know, disproportional, or, like, you know, they're, like, caricatures of what an actual character is. And so whenever someone is, like, you know, like, Mr. Incredible is, like, this big dude, like, no one is actually that big, but, like, the way that they portray, like, the big shoulders and the giant square jaw, like, that really, like, says a lot more than just having an actor who is sort of playing the role of a superhuman character.
It's really interesting you say that, because I was saying this as you were discussing it. With, like, I guess just art in general, especially if you're dealing with, like, movies or TV shows, this is something I've always been told through school. You have, like, basically a certain amount of time to have your image say everything. And whether if it's just, you know, just a simple picture on a piece of paper to, again, like, a movie like Mr. Incredible, you have to personify him as something that everyone can understand. You have to make him know, you have to make everyone be able to know he's super strong just by his appearance, you know. So of course he has the bigger arms and, like, you know, a skinnier, like, lower half and everything. So, like, instantly when you see him, even if you had no context whatsoever, you're like, that guy, he is, like, he can lift heavy things, you know.
And I think that's sort of the genius in character design, that, like, it's not just in what the character does, it's not just in what the character, like, says, it's, like, it's written all over them. And, you know, and while there are a lot of people in real life that kind of, like, oh, you can, like, see someone walking by the street and kind of, like, try and piece together their life story just based on how they look. Like, what's kind of beautiful about animation is that, like, they make each character sort of, like, come to life in that way. And I think that that's kind of more of the fun part of what you'd get to do, is that and as you have been doing while illustrating for this children's book, is that, like, just in seeing the character like standing there, you can be like, oh, like this little like splotch on her apron says that like you know, she's crafty but like fun and kind of messy, like you know, just that one little detail can say a whole lot. And I find that, you know, super interesting. I'm like jealous that you are so talented with whatever tool you're using, whether it be like your pencil or your tablet, or you know, you can also like craft a whole lot of stuff. And what is it that draws you to like crafting stuff?
I guess first I definitely get inspired by just like looking at things. So like, you know, I am on Pinterest a lot, and so I'll just come across ideas. Like I'll think of a subject and I'll be like, oh, like let's see what's, you know, in this kind of subject. And so, you know, maybe I'll find something with jewelry. Jewelry's my biggest crafting I do. I'm the jewelry maker in our little group. Though unfortunately, I don't know how it works, but it seems like everything I make somehow breaks. Like just the little ring, like somehow like doesn't connect. So I gotta fix that. Anyway, rambling. But no, like I usually like really finding different things, which is kind of good and bad, I guess, for myself. 'Cause I do love supporting artists, like crafters and such, but then like at the same time, you know, if I'm out, and there's like the events where there's gonna be vendors and such, I love seeing what they have. And sometimes like I look at it and I'm, you know, I'll look at it and be like, you know, I could probably make that too. And I always feel bad because I'm like, I want to support you, but at the same time I can make it. But then I'm like, will I actually make it? You know, so it becomes like one of those things. So it's kind of like a curse, but like also like a blessing at the same time. So it's kind of like, I don't want to like, I don't want to like snub anyone. I'm not going to, because again, I don't have all the time in the world to make everything that I see, but like I definitely do get inspired by other people. And of course, like if I do get inspired, I want to like always credit like where I found the source, you know. Actually recently there's something I've been really kind of intrigued by. It's embroidery. Because I found this one crafter, she's from Russia, and I found her through Instagram, and she makes these beautiful little pendants that she based off of Lolita dresses. Simply beautiful. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is really beautiful. And you know, so of course I like looked at her Instagram and I saw all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I could probably do this too. But then I was like, will I actually do it? And then I also thought, I don't know if I have, you know, designs for that at all. But I looked at her, I found her Etsy, and I think her prices are reasonable, because like it may kind of sound a lot, but at the same time I'm like, well, considering how much work and time she put into this, like I would want to help support her. And like, you know, I'm not going to get all of them, but it's like, if I get one, then at least that's helping her. And I'm like, I'd rather do that, you know.
I mean, as a creator yourself and myself, I also understand the value of like the work that goes into a lot of stuff. In the same way that like whenever you spend like months or weeks working on like a drawing or something, like and expecting someone just to pay like, oh yeah, like $10 for this small print or whatever, like yes, like $10 is what you would pay for that, but like I think so much more than $10 goes into like a little art print, you know?
I mean, I guess it just kind of depends, because I have done the art table before with our friends, because there's at least 2 other girls in our group that also are pretty big on art, and we shared a table at a convention. I mean, I put my prices kind of low just because I was like, well, you know, I guess this is how I usually always view it. It's like, if I'm willing to pay this much for a print, then I'm going to price it at that much. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, well, I know not everyone can afford like a $20 print, you know, and especially if it's like an 11 by 17, it's like, do I really want it? You know, especially this coming from the girl who literally has a wall full of like art prints in her studio that's covering up, you know, literally almost all of the walls. So it's just like, I've been there. And so also like having options is wonderful. Mm-hmm. Having the bigger sizes, and then of course the smaller ones, which you can put in a book or a scrapbook, like what I do, if they're small enough. So I mean, I guess it just kind of depends. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, if it's an original and if it's like the original one, like from your sketchbook, yes, maybe, you know, put a higher price on it because that's your original. But like, or the other craft I love to do is paperwork. And I've done a few pieces through that. I would definitely sell those at a higher price just because that literally takes a lot more time to do, because, you know, you're working with the X-Acto blade and cutting little small pieces out. And so that definitely, you know, you need to raise your price higher.
I mean, okay, so earlier we were kind of talking about how, like, Disney and stuff is sort of like the better feeling stuff rather than like negative media that's going around nowadays. So I guess I want to like bridge into our spiritual side of the podcast. Okay. So what do you believe?
Should I give a backstory to kind of help lead up into this a little bit more, just so I know where everyone knows where I'm at? Okay. Well, to begin with, ever since I was little, I've been told I'm a Christian, even though we never went to church. My father was raised Baptist, but he stopped at one point. I think basically whenever he left home to join the military. My mother was Lutheran, and she did the same thing when she went into the military. She kind of stopped. And so just through them, I've just always been told you're a Christian. And I believe we had Bibles in the house, but I never saw them. I honestly didn't find them until a lot later. They were in the drawer in the guest room. So, I mean, I didn't know that they were there. And I had always been told, you know, if I ever asked, like, you know, why don't we go to church if we're Christian? And my mom would always give me the same answer, oh, we just don't like organized religion. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of accepted that. And I was like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense, because growing up, I eventually just kind of figured, like, you know, each church was kind of different, which is true. Like, certain churches will teach one thing a certain way, while another church would do it a different way, so on and so forth. But also, we never really talked about God or Christ in the house. And I didn't realize, like, I actually had not thought about it until, you know, a few months ago when talking to my mother, that she never brought him up. Like, we never discussed it about him, you know, dying on the cross for us and everything, and that he was God's son and everything. So, like, honestly didn't know anything until... honestly, probably like 2011, whenever, 2009 to 2011, I think, like whenever I met you, and then I met our friends, and all of you were going to church, and you know, brought me into that. But other than that, I didn't know a whole lot. I did do prayers, but that was only through, like, our band director in high school. Anytime we did a performance, you know, we'd all huddle around her and she'd say a prayer. And that was probably about it for me. Aside from elementary school, I went to church with my friend. But then, of course, you know, we separated. I didn't go back. I had one Catholic Mass when I was really young with my grandmother. That was my first communion. I was never confirmed or anything, but somehow I still took it, and I thought it was not the most satisfying thing in the world. As this, like, little 10-year-old was just like, what is this?
Well, it isn't really in general anyways.
Well, I actually, because I became Catholic later, but like I actually didn't mind it. It was kind of like surprisingly one of the parts I was kind of always looking forward to. Yeah. Not the wine part, the bread part was kind of okay, but like but anyway.
But so like whenever we first started out, like I was Catholic at the time,
and I was kind of, I would want to say,
like a Gnostic sort of.
Yeah, just because that's where my mother was, because through most of my high school years, that's pretty much what I was. I kind of transitioned from like Wiccan to Gnostic to just kind of whatever made sense to me, like logically, you know, kind of stuff. And when we first started, like, again, you took me to church, but at first, obviously, I didn't feel right. I was just like, oh God, everyone's going to know I don't fit in. And that was like my big worry, but I was overthinking it. But even like through then, I had gone through 2 classes of Hinduism. And so it was actually kind of through those classes and then through you and our friends that I eventually find my way to the church. And I guess it was 2013 when it started. I went through RCIA.
Which, again, is, I mentioned it on my second podcast, but it's Rite of Catholic Initiation for Adults. I think I got that right.
Sounds correct.
And so basically, for people who go into the Catholic Church later, rather than being raised in it, they have like basically like godparents or like sponsors that sort of like bring them into the church, and like in the same way that like in like me being raised Catholic, like every like Wednesday after school or whatever, we'd have like RE, which is like religious education, and so the classes in RCIA were sort of like to make up for like not being raised Catholic, and so for you, I was your confirmation sponsor, because I was very like spiritually active as a Catholic, and I really did want you to believe yourself. Like, I don't want you to think that I pressured you into being Catholic or...
No, I know. Definitely at that time, it wasn't pressure or anything. It was definitely my choice. I was like, okay, like, I kind of want to fit in somewhere, but also I knew that it was a big part of, you know, of you. I wanted to be a part of that as well. So I was like, let's give this a try. You know, I never understood it until now. And as we kept going, I was like, I do really like this, you know, like, and I still do, you know, I still, even though I haven't gone to mass in a while, but I still go to church. We went to 2 churches at the time, and now it's just down to 1.
Yeah.
So, now the church that we go to, shall I say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We go to Life Church here out in Oklahoma, where it's founded. It's pretty cool if anyone's ever interested. I'm not sponsored by the church or anything, but I'm just saying, like, it's pretty cool. It's technically non-denominational. Yeah. Pastor Craig is really nice. If you go, there is, you know, kind of like these little benches that you can go after service, for anyone who is actually Catholic and, you know, wants to actually have the Eucharist and everything. But it's pretty cool. It's more of like, the way I always describe it, like, you know, when I try and tell people about it, like, just if they're interested, I'm always like, it's kind of like getting the really cool, like, pep talk, you know, of church.
Yeah.
Or, like, kind of like putting, literally, like, in the title of it, like, you put your life through the church. So, like, if you're going through something, you know, Craig always has something to say spiritually to kind of help.
And I mean, I don't think that there's anything really, like, in any Christian denomination, I don't think there's anything that says that, like, oh, like, this is your Christian life, and this is your, like, you know, other life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the way that a lot of people do live their lives.
Life Church is really good about kind of marrying both of them and into a way that's really inspiring. Right now, they actually just ended with one series, which is about, you know, being more Christ-like. There are stories I've heard a lot since I've been involved with the church.
I mean, I still want to hear more about you.
I know. Sorry. But again, like, I know they're doing like a marriage thing right now to kind of help anyone who's going through, you know, just got married or have been married for a while, and just help strengthen it. So it's kind of like uniting everything. So it's kind of like, it's a fun church. That's literally it. It's a fun church where, like, you feel welcomed.
But okay, so you were confirmed and, well, baptized, then confirmed through RCIA.
Yes.
And then, I mean, how long afterwards? Probably like a year or so afterwards.
Let's see.
Like, was whenever...
It went through... We started in, like, August or September of 2013 because it was, like... It was technically kind of like a school year. And we only met on Tuesdays. And then it went on... And Easter was the big day when everything happened, because at our old church, it was literally, like, 3 hours or something for the full, like, Easter.
Well, I mean, that's... For the Catholic Church, like... It's the biggest day of the year. It's the most important day ever.
And so that was part of the ceremony, was anyone who went through RCIA got, you know, the baptized and everything, which was actually really cool when it happened, when we went through it.
Yeah, but, like, how long after that did, like, I sort of peace out? Because I feel it was, like, a year or two?
I think it was a year, because it was... Last year, did you say something? So I think it was summer 2015.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So it had been at least a year since then.
Yeah. And so, like, yes, I will take, like, responsibility for affecting you in this way, but, like, there was a point, and if you listen to my second podcast, where I kind of realized that I never like truly believed it to myself, and that I couldn't really, like, continue saying that I did. And so it was like Father's Day or something, where like I was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, you had asked me what was wrong, and I was like, I don't really know. Like, I just can't do all of this anymore.
I know you had... I didn't see it right away. Some of our friends did, and they were kind of worried, but I didn't really see it right away until I think there was one stage where you said that, you know, I'm not sure where I am, but I'm still like 80%, you know, pro God. But you were having a problem with, like, the Christians and, like, you know how everyone's kind of different. And then next thing I know, you told me, like, I'm done. And that's when that happened.
Yeah. And and I'm sorry, but, like, yeah, that's just where I am. But, like, how did that affect you?
It hit me pretty hard. Yeah, I was kind of devastated, honestly. Especially since you were the one who brought me to the church, and I felt pretty comfortable at that point where we were. I felt, you know, very stereotypical thing that you'll hear is I felt God in me. You know, and I felt so good. I wasn't angry about anything anymore. Like, stuff was able to be, you know, just let go. And I was thinking, like, you know, how cool would it be if, you know, whenever we move away from here, you know, we could see about setting up another campus, like where we live or something, you know. all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, we're going to be a Christian family. And then when you told me that, I was just like, oh. Honestly, at the time, it was kind of a make or break deal. And, you know, I was upset. And then, of course, as time went on, we talked about it. We were okay. We argued again. You know, we did go back and forth for a while. But now I do think that we're good. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's obviously a few things every now and again that we're probably going to not agree on because probably spiritually, like, don't agree with, you know. But I think overall we're okay. Mm-hmm. Like, probably more than okay, actually. But, so, like, yeah.
Where are you?
Where am I? I am still a Christian. Mm-hmm. I will happily say that. I'm still kind of lost at the same time, though. Like, I don't think I could honestly, like, switch to any other religion right now. Just because I have felt the most happy through Christianity and everything. I definitely have had, you know, really strong emotional times, like good emotional times, like through the church, like whether it was at Life Church. I had, you know, pretty emotional moment whenever I was at the Vatican, mm-hmm. since I got to go there through school, mm-hmm. through my humanities department. But I mean, at the same time, I will admit that I have been kind of bitter. Mm-hmm. I don't know where the bitterness 100% lies, whether if it's through you, through me, or through God. And that's the honest truth. Like, I know at the time, you know, I was confused whenever you told me, and I was like, was it something I did? Like, am I not helping you? Is it God? You know, and, you know, me being angry at God and being like, oh, like, why isn't this working for him? You know, and then being mad at it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So it was just kind of like, it was kind of, my bitterness was kind of everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point, I just kind of closed myself off mm-hmm. from it. And I kind of didn't want to go to church. Unfortunately, that is kind of why I haven't gone to Mass in a while. So, confession. But, you know, I have been trying to keep going to Life Church. And, you know, there will be times where there's stuff that I don't agree with. I'm sure.
I think that's good.
Yeah. I mean, again, Pastor Craig is really good. I mean, there will be points where I think he's going to say things and not everyone's going to agree with. And I'm sure he knows that too. But I mean, I know he's still doing really good. And there are some really good messages and stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes I may not get something out of it all the time. There have been a few times where I'll leave and I feel, you know, just kind of angry because I'm like, you know, that's the same answer I always expect to hear, you know.
Yeah. But
which we'll explain later.
I also want you to, like, be independent in what you believe. And that, mm-hmm. like, I like what this says, and I think this is helpful to my life. But whenever someone throws this into the mix, it's really like...
Yeah.
So, like, the one, like, major discrepancy that you have.
Yeah. There's one big thing that I think has really been holding me back. While I am still, you know, kind of easing my way back into the church and just trying to gain at that relationship with God, there's still something that is holding me back. And it's the one thing that kind of always leaves me kind of angry if something is brought up, whether directly or indirectly about it. A long time ago when we first kind of started out, probably a few years into our relationship, we would go to Bible study at our friend's house. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there was a time where it was us two versus two of our friends that were there, and it got pretty heated. And it was over the subject of, if you accept Christ into your heart, basically you get to go to heaven, but if you don't, you go to hell. Mm-hmm. And they were raised Baptists, so, I mean, looking back on it, I kind of understand. But, sorry if I offended anyone. But, like, I literally asked one of my friends, and I said, okay, so if I never accepted Christ, because I officially did, like, back in 2012, and I had asked him this after I had accepted, and I had asked, I was like, so you mean to tell me if I didn't accept him, but I kept living my life as I did, you know, not drinking, not doing drugs, not stealing, you know, just being a good person and trying to do good, I would still go to hell? And he looked me dead in the eyes and said, yes. And I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't deal with that. And that is the constant subject that keeps coming up, which is preventing me to fully commit, I think. It's that barrier that I can't get over, aside from still me just trying to let go that, you know, that kind of anger I had whenever you left. But it's definitely always been that struggle. And, you know, I have had emotional moments with my friends. You know, we would talk about it, and, you know, I started feeling angry again, and I would try and talk about it, and it still seems like no matter who I talk to, it's still always the same answer. And it seems like it's like a set response that they can't get past. That, yes, unfortunately, like, if you can't accept Christ, you're going to go to hell. And I said, but there's, you know, like, Buddhist monks who literally, like, go barefoot and wear masks on their face because they consider all life sacred. They don't want to, like, step on an insect because if they do, like, they feel unbelievably horrible. That's literally, like, their way of life because they love life, literally. And so whenever, you know, if the subject comes up with my friends or with just anyone in the church or something, and I try and express that, they still always give me the same answer. And I still kind of feel this way. That's literally the mindset, you know. It almost really turns me off to it, because it's like, that's not loving to me. That's not what your Bible is telling me to do. I mean, I know there's, like, the wrathful part of the Bible, and then, you know, that was in the Old Testament. New Testament is, like, way more loving. But, like, to me, to suddenly just kind of be, like, cut off everyone else just because they don't accept Christ in their hearts is very, like, sad to me.
Yeah.
And
I mean, let's talk about that, like, just because whenever someone is a good person or whatever, I think that the love that is expressed in the Bible is, like, pretty clear. Like, pretty often it's like, oh, God is love, God loves everything. And so, like, and yes, like, as you say, there's, like, you know, sort of a set answer for all these things, and then, like, there's the set answer for what happens when, or, like, why there is a hell or something. But, like, to you, like, what do you think happens to the good Hindu woman?
For me personally, I feel like, well, first, let me start out with, there's only been one religious person, and he was at our Catholic church. He helped, you know, teach one of the classes during Mass whenever we went and talked about what we just heard. Because it kept eating at me, and I literally went up to him and I was like, what happens to the people who don't have Christ in their hearts? Like, what happens to them, like, when they die? And I told him this is something that has been weighing on my heart a lot. And he looked at me and he told me, you know, and this man he always referred to himself as a cradle Catholic, so he's been raised Catholic all his life. And he told me that no matter who you are, when you die, you're still going to be judged no differently than if you were a Christian. Like, God will look at you, or the creator or whoever you want to believe will look at you and look at your life, and they will decide where you go. And at that moment, and it still holds very true to me, that's been the only time where someone in the church has finally told me an answer that wasn't just, you're going to hell if you don't have Christ in your heart.
Yeah.
You know, or you're going to be fine because, you know, you have Christ in your heart. You know, it's like, how can you determine if you truly have God in your heart or Christ in your heart? You know, because something that also has been eating at me is what one of our friends had told me. Essentially what I like to call it, and you've also called it too, is the cheat code to heaven. You know, you can have a guy who's committed murder, but then like on his deathbed, he suddenly decides to, you know, accept Christ into his heart. And I was told, you know, God doesn't want heaven to be like dirtied up by like everyone's sin, so he only allows like the good in. And I'm like, well, okay, you're telling me this, but if someone's committed murder and then all of a sudden he has Christ in his heart, he suddenly gets in for free? Like, wait a minute. I mean, at the end, I know it's like God is the one who ultimately decides, but you, a human being, is telling me because he like repented, he's suddenly okay.
Like in like in the end of God's Not Dead, like the atheist teacher got like hit by a car, and then he finally he's lying in the street, and then he's like, okay, fine, I actually believe, and then like, I mean that was so he's actually supposed to like go to heaven.
I mean that was a good movie, but yeah, now where I'm at now, it's I'll still say it's a good movie, but I don't know if I 100% believe it. I don't know, but beside the point. It's stuff like that where it still doesn't sit right with me. It's also the same stuff that by the grace of God you will be saved, but just by the grace of God, or just by faith alone you're saved, and that's it. What about those good acts that we need to do? Like literally in the Bible it says like, if you basically clothe me, or like if you clothe the naked, feed the hungry, give water, that kind of stuff. Like, it's, well,
I can't remember the verse exactly, but it's like,
but you know what I'm talking about, right?
It's
kind of basically helping like
those
the poor,
that you helped, you did for me. Is a lot closer to what he's like.
Sorry. I'm still learning. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But like, then the people are like, yeah, but like we did all, like we loved you and said that like, you know, we did all these things in your name, and he was like, I do not know you.
Yeah.
And cast those people to hell, even though they said they believed, they didn't do the things.
Exactly. So like God said. So that's why like it's really confusing to me. Again, that's why like I know organized religion, like it's different everywhere. I think it was the Catholic Church that was grace was their thing, and probably good acts was one of them things. But then like another church can be like, it eventually
just gets really hazy. Once you just get into like,
but I know
like the technicalities of all that junk, anyways.
Yeah. But I know like at least like the churches that I've been to, it seems like good deeds is very much overlooked, and you know I think that's a big thing. Because then again, then it's like, okay, if it's just by faith or if it's just by grace, then we can go off and do whatever we want. You know, we can go off and do the sinful things that is considered sinful, but we'll still be okay because by the grace, we're okay. I mean, but I'm like, why not? Well, first off, we shouldn't be doing those sinful things. Two, let's try and actually do something good, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know. Like,
I mean, at the same time, the set answer that I hear for that one is basically that believing in Christ in your heart is more than just believing. It's actually like, even though you say you believe, but then go out and commit murder, like you didn't actually believe. To believe is to actually do the good things that kind of go in part with believing. And so in that way, that's how the good works are sort of encompassed in the faith, that that the belief is more than just I say I believe. The belief is actually doing the things that you say you believe.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's easy to just say it, but like if you actually do it, then obviously I think that speaks way more. That's also kind of another thing. Even though I'm Christian, I know it's kind of hard because I've also experienced it when I first out. Not by you, but like some of our other friends, like I would get really pushed into being a part of the church. And I will admit, at first, it kind of turned me away from it. I was like, whoa, like, give me a second to breathe. Like, don't push me so much that I eventually get pushed away. And, that's kind of something I want to try and do. Like, I still want to be Christian, but I want to lead by example. And right now, I'm in my, whatever phase, still trying to go back. But I do want to try and be more positive, and definitely lead by example, because there are people in my life right now that don't go to church at all. And I want to try and be an influence on them to hopefully get them to come to church. I've taken them to service before. They wouldn't go to mass, but that's okay. But I'm not going to always push. But I want to try and lead by example and have them see, like, you don't need to be negative all the time. Or, like, oh, like, she did this thing. Well, maybe that inspires me to do this too, kind of thing. Like, try and be godly without having to throw the name God in their face, because to some people that's very intimidating and it turns them away.
And that is the type of Christianity that I really appreciate in you and a lot of our friends, that I appreciate that you want to lead by example. Just be a good person, and that will lead people to Christ. That will lead people to be like, oh, why is it that you do all these good things? And that way is the way that you lead people, rather than there's a quote by brand new. It's while you're beating with a book, everyone that book tells you to love. And so like, you can't beat people with a book where that book itself is telling you, like, love everyone. Everyone. And
I think that kind of leads into something else that I had trouble with. I do love Christianity. Like, I love what it teaches. I think there's a lot of good things you can take from it. Mind you, like, take all of the text and not just like a little phrase, because that is a problem where, people will take like just a little snippet, but it's totally out of context and it isn't what the actual like full thing is. But I will admit, I think right now my biggest problem is Christians, and sorry if that offends anyone, but that is the honest truth. Like, I love Christianity, but again, it's because like, and they have been addressed before, like at church and stuff like that. Like, you have the Christians that say like, oh, I'm Christian, but I only show up to Easter and Christmas, or like, you do have the hypocritical ones where, there was actually a series that was done about, trying not to use the verses correctly instead of indirect or incorrectly, or like to try and like help you or something. It was like one of those.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of that mindset. Something else. It was on YouTube. There's a voice actor that is pretty popular in the voice acting community, and he's been raised Christian all his life. Well, if you go to these conventions, if it's big enough, if it's in a big enough area, you're going to have those protesters that are outside, with the signs that say like, God, will strike you kind of stuff, the typical ones that you always see. Well, there was this couple, and their sign was very negative, but they were wanting people to like basically come to church, but it was very negative. And this voice actor confronted them, and he says, you're bringing fear to these people who are, in kind of that in-between phase in their life where they're trying to fit in and they're already judged for what they're doing, you know, like these comic conventions and whatnot, or like the anime conventions. And, you know, they're typically like high schoolers and like a little bit older, you know, and they have families and stuff like that. And especially like the younger crowd, you know, they're already in that kind of awkward phase where it's like trying to fit in, you know, you don't know where you're going kind of stuff. And to have, you know, people like that come in and start, you know, basically putting the fear of God into them, literally, that's not good. And that's what this voice actor was doing. He was saying, that's not what you should do. You should bring love to them and like express love to them. And that will really help, not fear. And, you know, he was getting kind of fired up, but I think it was more, he was just frustrated because these people could not be reasoned with. And it's stuff like that that kind of also bugs me too, because again, it's like you're not being open-minded, and perhaps that's kind of like why, you know, I have kind of that little barrier, is because I've been too open-minded for so long, because I wasn't raised, you know, I wasn't raised Catholic, but I wasn't raised Christian all my life. So perhaps it's because I'm so open-minded that, you know, I can probably accept things instead of just like, you know, go to default, if you will. In a sense, you know, like, again, there are a lot of really great things, but like at the same time, it's like, we need to kind of expand, guys, you know, kind of thing. Or like,
well,
obviously if something hasn't worked before, let's try it a different way.
I think more of what you're getting at is that, like, it's really the love that draws people to the church. It's not the hatred or the fear. And that for fear to be such a big part of, like, what makes up your entire worldview. Because
in certain sects of Christianity, that's literally, like, how they preach is, like, through kind of the more fearful, more wrathful God. That was why my father turned away, because he couldn't take it. I don't know about his siblings, but definitely he kind of turned away from it because it just wasn't for him. One of her friends' mom, she went through that. Not the same kind of sect as my dad, but actually worse. And I actually learned about it for the first time like a while ago when he told me about it. And she wasn't even allowed to go see movies, basically, for a long time. And she was really restricted to do stuff. And I was just like, that's not helping. You know, that's not being godly to me. And I see that so much, like, if it's not with one subject, it's with another. And that's where I get frustrated or confused or just turned off by it, where it's like, that is where the hypocrisy is. It's like, they're being Christ-like in one area, but then if it becomes like another step the other way and kind of works with it, they're suddenly un-Christ-like. And then it's just like, no, you're not following through with it, and that's why I don't understand. And that's why, like, I really appreciated the one answer that I got from one of our helpers through RCIA when he told me, you know, the finally the one answer that I've been looking for. And especially by a man in the church. And
so
and then also, also Francis right now, like, love him, and he's finally also saying stuff that is similar, you know, like, he was someone that said, like, atheists are gonna be okay, you know, like, stuff like that, you know, and he's also having trying to fix
a pope that is humble and
super humble
and open and caring and truly having the love that Christ really set out.
Yeah, he's been more Christ-like to me. I mean, I'll admit, I haven't paid that close attention to the popes before, just because I never had to, but, like...
There's also, like, they take a long time to die.
Yeah, there's that, or, like, the previous one who decided to resign. I don't blame him. But Pope Francis has definitely changed a lot of things, and, like, in a way, I'm kind of glad to say that he was, you know, the Pope, kind of, like, we always said at RCIA he was kind of like our Pope because we went through it just as he was starting. And so kind of that bond. I mean, I don't want to sound like selfish when I say that, like, oh, he's my Pope and only my Pope, no, not that. But I don't know, like, he seems really cool. Again, he is very humble. If you just look up, like, the chair that he's always on, he's super downgraded from what it used to be. Before it was like gold and everything. Now it's wood, kind of how Peter actually kind of was.
But okay, so more of like what you're saying is really like it's the love of the church that is truly what sort of drives everything that you should be doing as a Christian.
Yeah, I definitely think so. There has been something that you had said, I think, whenever you were transitioning before you like officially just said like, I'm done. And I do kind of agree with it, because it also goes with something else that I'll explain. You had basically said that perhaps love is otherworldly or godly. And whenever you said that, it kind of stuck with me, because I firmly believe in the idea that it's so much easier to hate and to seek revenge or to do these bad things because, like, either one, it's just really easy to do or it feels good or whatever. Like, I could be angry, I can punch stuff, because I'm so angry, because it's easy, But it's so much harder to forgive and to kind of, like, take the higher road or, like, turn the other cheek or however you want to say it, And I actually really love that Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, he actually said something very similar, where it's easy, it's kind of like something, it's easy to be angry, but it's harder to forgive or something. I'm probably butchering that, and I'm sorry to all the Avatar fans out there. But, like, ever since he said that, like, I was like, oh, yeah. It's so true. It's during the episode of the Southern Raiders, where he's trying to talk to Katara and stuff. Throw that out there. But I firmly believe in that. Like, as someone who actually did grow up kind of angry and just, I wasn't a violent person, but, like, like, oh, like, this teacher, like, wish my dad would go and punch him, kind of thing, like, I hate to say that, but, like, that was a mindset of mine, because I had some jerky teachers, but, like, I was tasty? No. No.
Sorry. Continue.
This guy. No, but, like, I would have that mindset, and, surprisingly, like, my parents or my mother would be like, no, we can't do that, and then eventually, as I got older, I'd still, feel anger every now and again, but it wasn't until I went through the church that I suddenly feel that love, and I was able to let things go. Like, could probably have someone kind of cut me off or just drive stupid in front of me, but I'd be like, nah, it's whatever. Now it's kind of like, what is this guy doing? What are you doing? I'll say that kind of stuff, or I'll just be like, really? That kind of stuff. I'll kind of get angry now, but I'm not honking my horn at them. I never have. But you know what I mean? Like, it's also just, I guess, kind of a test for yourself. Because also in the past, I would hold kind of grudges against people, just because I didn't understand, like, why they did things. Like, I had friends that kind of backstabbed me, or, there would just be stuff that would happen, and, I'd be, like, hanging on to it. But, like, when I finally just decided to let go and forget them, and that was actually probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And I'm sure a lot of people have gone through that and know what I'm talking about, but, like, to suddenly just decide to forgive someone and finally let that go, it's so hard. But once it happens, it feels so good, And I don't know, I do think, like, to have that love, to have that forgiveness is something that's not of this world, because I don't know, perhaps it's I don't know, it's I had a thought. I don't know, it's just kind of hard to describe, but it's like a good thing, you know, to suddenly just feel that, and then you just want to keep doing it.
If that makes sense. What is your feeling about this world or that world, or are there other worlds? Like, as in, is there like a spiritual realm, or heaven, or what is that to you?
Honestly, at this point, I will always say, as a child, you know, I always thought heaven was just on the other side of the clouds, like we'd see the under part, and like, you know, I'm sure there would be angels that are looking down, but they're so small that we can't see them because they're so far away. Obviously that's not the truth, because if you have ever flown on an airplane, you won't see them. And even if you go on a rocket, you still don't see anything, you know? So, I mean, like, physically, I know it's not there. I don't want to, maybe perhaps mentally it is, but I mean, I know there's a theory of different dimensions, so.
I just want to know what you think.
Well, that is kind of where I'm going. I really don't know. I mean, perhaps it is kind of another dimension that only our souls can go to. I don't know. Like, I'll admit, I just don't know. Because, like,
I mean, okay, so this is something that I asked everyone, but like,
I will say I don't believe in hell, though. I don't believe in that. I probably believe more purgatory than hell, but
yeah. Okay, so and
if you want to get technical,
so this is a question that I ask. I'm pretty sure I've asked most people, but like, is there a soul?
I want to think there is. I mean,
at least to you, obviously.
I'll say yes, but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I haven't really thought about it so much. I mean, I know there's always adaptations about what a soul could probably look like a little like glowing orb with like smoke coming off of it, or it's just like smoke in general or whatever, you know. I don't know, you know. I do think it's something inside everyone, because obviously we're all different. I have heard the theory of like, you know, souls like be regenerated, and I know that's part of a lot of religions or cultures where they believe that. There's the old saying of, if you really love something now, maybe that's what you were in a past life, you know. At one point I was super into Japan, so maybe I lived in Japan in a past life, but I've since moved on, and now I'm into like Europe and Italy especially. So who knows, you know. It's really hard to say, but again, yeah, I don't know. Sorry I keep saying that. It's
good. I don't know is a great thing to say.
I know it sounds like a cop-out, but I mean, I'd rather be honest and not say something like some spiel like, oh, there is a soul, you know, like. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't cut up a person and be like, hey, there's a soul in there. Like, we're not going to see it.
But I'm more asking, like, what you believe. Because people's beliefs definitely affect how they behave, how they treat others. And so, kind of one of the many reasons as to why I enjoy having this podcast is because people do finally get to sort of speak out about what they believe, and I really like seeing the way that affects how they treat other people, how they act in the world around them. So for you, like, what is it that you want sort of to bestow upon the world, that you want the world to believe in and do more of?
Morality. Definitely morality. Again, words. Again, morality. I don't understand how people can do some of the jerkiest things in the world, or just like the worst things in the world. I don't get it. you know, as simple as like you not picking up the piece of trash that you tried to toss into the trash can and it missed, you know, or like go to a shopping store and like see that there's a crud ton of clothes on the floor, you know, pick up after yourselves, you know, to flat out like committing murder or raping or something. Little tidbit about me, I have a guilty pleasure of watching like a lot of the crime scene stuff, because if I wasn't an artist, that's probably honestly what I would want to do, is be involved in crime. Not necessarily like be on scene, but like try and figure out like being an investigator, you know, kind of thing. Like,
sorry, real quick.
What?
You were like, flat out murder or raping, real quick, I have a guilty pleasure. And my brain was like, what?
Hey, after all this time, I have something to tell you. And I'm going to say it now on your podcast. No. No.
But, yeah, sorry.
I mean, there aren't bodies in my closet. I mean, no.
No, I've been in there.
Oh,
in your closet.
Walk-in closet.
Anyways.
To make sure I don't have any bodies in my closet, let's just be clear. I'm good.
The NSA has a terrible time listening to these podcasts. They're not getting anything out of it.
I know. It's just in case all your listeners think I'm crazy. I'm not. I promise. But no, I love watching those shows, and they're interesting to me because it's like, you know, they obviously play on the viewer and be like, oh, like this is like this. They make something really dramatic that it probably actually isn't. But it's kind of more realistic than the actual like CSI shows and whatnot. Because I have heard like they over dramatize it, which is true. But they're still good. But I don't know, like the most common thing I always see is like a spouse gets killed, and of course like the main, you know, suspect is like the other spouse, you know. So like say it's a wife who suddenly gets murdered, and she, you know, was super happy, she never would do anything bad, the relationship seemed good, and then all of a sudden she's dead, you know. Of course they turn to the husband, you know, and they try and figure out why, and like eventually it leads to like, you know, an affair, or like, you know, if your wife is dead, like her insurance, like the money that you get from her death is like a lot. Like the one I watched today, like this guy would have gotten like $2 million from his wife being dead. So I'm just like, holy crud, like just divorce her. Like it becomes that greed thing. And so it's interesting me to see the mindset. It's like they can't just do the simple, like, let's just get a divorce. But instead they have to go through the full-on murder. And then it's like, do you not realize if you get caught, you can't do anything. You're going to jail. Like, come on. Like, I don't understand that. And it's intriguing to me because I'm just like, where's that mentality coming from? And I don't know. Like, that's why it's like, above all, I'm like, just do the morality thing. Like, you know, if you feel like it's not going to happen, like, you know, say a marriage for something, like, if you can already tell that it's not going to work out, like, just don't do it. I'm a firm believer, obviously, through us. You know, we've been together for 6 years, you know, and we didn't get, you know, we decided not to do anything right away, and we're still not going to anytime soon. So, I mean, like, definitely know who you're going to be involved with and know them. Of course, I always hear, like, you know, oh, like, everyone's different, and which is true. Everyone's different, but it is true. Like, once you start living with someone, you're going to see another side of them.
But,
sorry,
the
ramble.
Morality thing.
But, I don't know, like, again, it can be as, like, extreme as, like, you know, doing the worst of the worst, which is committing murder, followed by, like, the rape and everything, and then, like, stealing, and then just flat out just, like, not picking up a piece of trash, or, like, you know, just talking to, like, your grandmother or something. I don't know. Like, just live morally. You know, and I know there's always the big debates of, like, oh, well, what can you consider as moral? Because I've been through philosophy classes where it's like, you know, rapists can think it's, like, morally okay to do that kind of stuff. And, you know, majority of us will definitely be like, no, that's not right. But to him, like, he thinks it's okay. But, like, it's trying to fix that morality, I think, and trying to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is the problem right now. It's like there's so many views of what we think is the right thing. We don't have something that's like super set in stone. Or even if we do, like the 10 Commandments, like, you know, those are set in stone. Huh? Yeah. Do we 100% follow them? I would say no. But even then, if we try to, we always try and skew it just so in the right direction to where it's like, oh, you know, like I had this like affair, but like I'll talk to my wife and everything's okay. Or like, you know, I don't know if that was a good example, but you know what I mean? Like trying to skew it enough to where it benefits the person. So I think it's trying to keep that moral compass in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, I have a book to recommend, but I'll say that later.
Which one is that?
The Moral Landscape by Sam Harris.
Okay. I don't know if you talked to me about that one.
Well, we can talk about that here in a sec. But, and so with that, like, what is more behavior that you would like to see people doing just in general in the world?
Definitely admitting stuff. I actually talked to someone today about that. I'm going to get into politics just for a second.
Go for it.
Just because it's an example. Hillary. If she would just admit to stuff that she's done, and even the person I talked to today was saying the same thing. Like, if she would just admit, you know, that she did all these things with her emails and like her points of view have definitely changed from whenever her husband was in, you know, office. Like, if she would just flat out just admit it and just be like, you know, like, guys, things have changed from when Bill was in office and I was, you know, supporting him, or like because of this and the economy was different then than it is now. That's why. If, you know, if you just own up to your stuff, excuse me. If you just own up to your stuff, like, I think that would, one, help. So there's like not secrecy. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, but we need secrecy. But at the same time, I'm like,
but I mean, it's like,
learn humility.
It's,
you know,
it's the humility, but it's also, it's so much easier to say, I had this point of view, and I have since changed that point of view. This is what I believe now. Yeah. Rather than going, you used to believe this, and saying, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, but we have right here in public record and transcripts of you saying exactly the opposite of what you just said.
Exactly.
Like, no, I didn't.
Exactly. If there, like, especially if there is evidence, like, it's not just like for Hillary, but if it's just for anyone in general, where it's like there's obvious like evidence against them and they just keep denying it, it just makes it worse, like for themselves. You know, it's only making them look bad. And it's just like, just own up to it. Like, you know how much better it's going to be if you just do. Like, people will definitely look at you differently. Like, yes, they'll be like, oh, you did this, but you were honest to me and said yes. And, you know, I've gone through that, not as extreme, but like, I'm a band nerd, and whenever went through high school, little freshman, you know, like, I felt intimidated by like all the upperclassmen, and whenever we had, you know, band practice for marching band, and if I made a squeak during, you know, one of our practices, you know, when we did just sessionals, and like, of course, the director would be like, okay, who did it? I'd raise my hand, and after a while, like, I felt more respect from people than I probably would have if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because then I felt they saw me in a different light, saying like, oh, she may not be perfect, but she's willing to admit, you know, stuff. Or like, especially something I've told you about, you know, I was considered always like one of the you know, star students kind of thing. Like, not really like, you know, I got good grades, but I wasn't the teacher's pet. But I definitely was one of those, like, teachers would always say, like, oh, wish my class was, like, full of you or something, you know, kind of thing. Like, that mentality. So I always had that pressure of being, like, kind of the perfect student, even though I didn't really have to. But just me subconsciously was like, oh my God, I have to be perfect. Oh my God. You know, and so like freshman year, I would be so shy. I didn't want to make a mistake. But like as the years went by, and especially as I became a leader to like underclassmen, I was okay to saying, yep, that was me. I'm sorry. You know, even out on the field, like if we were practicing, like if I messed up, I was on the ground doing push-ups, you know, being like, I'm going to set an example and I'm going to be a leader and say, you know what? I messed up.
Yeah.
That means I'm human. I'm not perfect. And that's what I want people to do.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I don't think so. I think that kind of covered it.
Okay. So. In which case, thank you for listening to Bit Deaf. This is Sable. Where can we find you on the internets?
Best way to find me is on my Instagram. It's paintedcrow_artistry. You'll find more of my work there, and I'm more active on there. I do have a Facebook, but I think I'm going to add that in my bio on Instagram, so definitely look me up.
Definitely do look her up. She is an amazing artist, and I'm not just saying that because she's my girlfriend. I'm saying that because she is an amazing artist.
No. Shucks. Nah. I just do a lot of line work. I'm still learning. But.
Yeah. And we are both a part of Solstice Cosplay.
Yes.
And we do have a Facebook page. I don't know the URL for that, but just go to Facebook, search Solstice Cosplay. You will find, is the picture still of our Freddy's thing?
I believe it. Yes, our avatar is, or I guess it is the avatar image, isn't it, or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still of us as our Five Nights at Freddy's. We did a skit in 2015 at Tokyo and Tulsa. We got first place. You can also look up the skit on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, but we don't really have anything up yet. But we're working on that. We're working on that.
Okay. And then you already know who I am. Hopefully, unless you got here through some other means. But I'm Santiago Ramones. And you can find me on my website, santiagoramones.com. And I always end each podcast with my 3 things, which are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong. Thanks for listening.